Buenas tardes a todas y a todos, distinguidas autoridades, representantes de las instituciones públicas, miembros de la industria de los semiconductores, líderes académicos, investigadores, emprendedores y colaboradores. Bienvenidos a CHIPNATION 3, el tercer Congreso Nacional de la Industria de Semiconductores en España. Good afternoon, everyone, distinguished authorities, representative of public institutions, members of the semiconductor industry, academic leaders, researchers, entrepreneurs and partners, welcome to CHIPNATION 3, the third National Congress of the Semiconductor Industry in Spain. Es un verdadero honor darles la bienvenida hoy a Las Palmas de Gran Canaria, una ciudad que durante los próximos 3 días se convierte en el corazón latente del ecosistema español y europeo de la microelectrónica. It's a true honor to welcome you today to Las Palmas de Gran Canaria, a city that for the next 3 days becomes the beating heart of the Spanish and European microelectronics ecosystem. CHIPNATION nace como la respuesta en un momento estratégico para nuestro país y para Europa. CHIPNATION was born as a response to a strategic moment for our country and also for Europe. En 2023, más de 300 profesionales se reunieron en una edición primera que incluso exploró las posibilidades del metaverso. ¿Qué atrás queda, no? In 2023, more than 300 professionals gathered in pioneering edition that even explored the possibilities of the metaverse. It's a long time ago, it seems. En 2024, la participación y el impacto aumentaron, consolidando a CHIPNATION como el principal punto de encuentro para la industria de los semiconductores y la microelectrónica en España. In 2024, participation and impact increased significantly, consolidating CHIPNATION as the leading meeting point for the semiconductor and microelectronics industry in Spain. Hoy, en su tercera edición, el Congreso da un paso decisivo hacia adelante, con un alcance, una ambición y una proyección internacional aún mayores que las anteriores. Today, in this third edition, the Congress takes a decisive step forward, expanded in scope, ambition and international projection. CHIPNATION 3 refuerza el papel de España en un contexto global definido por la Ley Europea de Chips y el PERTE-Chip, con más de 70.000 millones de euros de inversión pública en juego. CHIPNATION 3 reinforces Spain's role in a global context defined by the European Chips Act and the PERTE-Chip, with more than 70 billion euros in public investment at stake. Que esta edición se celebre hoy en Gran Canaria no es una coincidencia. La isla representa un puente entre continentes, una plataforma natural para la innovación, la ciencia y la tecnología, y también un territorio con un compromiso creciente con la economía del conocimiento. That this vision takes place in Gran Canaria is not a coincidence. The island represents a bridge between continents, a natural platform for innovation, science and technology, and a territory with a growing commitment to the knowledge economy. Gracias a la colaboración entre AESEMI, el Cabildo de Gran Canaria y el Gobierno de Canarias, este Congreso se convierte no solo en un referente a nivel nacional, sino también en una ventana abierta para la cooperación internacional. Thanks to the collaboration between AESEMI, Cabildo de Gran Canaria, and the government of the Canary Islands, this Congress becomes not only a national landmark, but also a window for international cooperation. Y ahora sí vamos a dar comienzo a la apertura institucional de CHIPNATION 3. We now begin to the official institutional opening of CHIPNATION 3. Es un honor presentar a las distinguidas autoridades que nos acompañan hoy y que tomarán la palabra. It is my pleasure to introduce the distinguished authorities who will address us today some words. En primer lugar, quiero dar la bienvenida al señor Javier Franco, director de la Agencia Canaria de Investigación, Innovación y Sociedad de la Información del Gobierno de Canarias. Mr. Javier Franco, Manager of the Canarian Agency of Investigation, Innovation and Society of the Information from the Government of the Canary Islands.
Buenas tardes a todas y a todos, señor presidente del Cabildo Insular de Gran Canaria, señor presidente de AESEMI, señor director de la SED, del Gobierno de España, estimados investigadores, personas que se han acercado hoy, en general a todos, buenas tardes. Es un honor, como director de la Agencia Canaria de Investigación, Innovación y Sociedad de la Información del Gobierno de Canarias, acompañar a esta apertura de esta nueva edición de un congreso que ya se ha consolidado como un punto de referencia para la microelectrónica y los semiconductores de España y de Europa. Hoy es especialmente significativo destacar que este encuentro es posible gracias a la alineación y el compromiso conjunto de las instituciones que estamos presentes, el Ayuntamiento, el Cabildo, el Gobierno de España y el Gobierno de Canarias. La cooperación institucional que estamos construyendo en torno a la microelectrónica y los semiconductores no solo fortalece la visión compartida, sino que demuestra que en Canarias sabemos remar en la misma dirección cuando se trata de impulsar un sector estratégico para nuestro futuro económico y tecnológico. Nos encontramos en pleno proceso de transformación tecnológico global, en el que los semiconductores y la microelectrónica se han convertido en piezas fundamentales de las áreas tecnológicas críticas para la Unión Europea. Junto a la tecnología cuántica, la inteligencia artificial y la biotecnología, para la competitividad, la seguridad económica y el bienestar social que Europa ha asumido para que la seguridad económica y lo que realmente es una nueva ambición, como es fortalecer su soberanía estratégica, recuperar capacidad industrial y asegurar la innovación y el talento, permanecen en nuestro continente. Canarias quiere y debe formar parte de este proyecto. Y lo hace con una hoja de ruta clara. En primer lugar, con una nueva ley canaria de la ciencia, actualmente en tramitación, que reforzará el ecosistema de I+D+I con un marco jurídico moderno, estable y alineado con los estándares europeos. Y en segundo lugar, con un plan canario de I+D+I 2026-2030, que acompañará nuestras políticas de investigación, transferencia y digitalización durante los próximos años. Pero si hoy estamos aquí es porque Canarias ya ha demostrado que no parte de cero. El ecosistema recogido en la Estrategia Canaria CHIP 2022-2027 confirma que disponemos de capacidades científicas, empresariales y de talentos reconocidos internacionalmente. Centros como el IUMA, con más de 3 décadas de liderazgo en diseño y test de microchip, o el Instituto de Astrofísica de Canarias, referente en instrumentación avanzada y fotónica integrada, son pilares de un ecosistema que ha sabido crecer, colaborar y atraer inversión. El sector empresarial, articulado en el clúster Chip Canarias, agrupa hoy a compañías innovadoras presentes no solo en nuestro archipiélago, sino también en Europa, Estados Unidos y en la misma Asia. A esta fortaleza se suma un elemento determinante, nuestro régimen económico y fiscal, especialmente la zona especial de Canarias, que constituye un multiplicador único para la atracción de proyectos tecnológicos de alto valor añadido. Y junto a ello, la estabilidad, la conectividad y la calidad de vida de nuestras islas, que las convierte en un polo natural de atracción y retención de talento. Todo este potencial no es teórico, ya se está materializando en proyectos de colaboración internacional y en una creciente capacidad de Canarias para participar en iniciativas. CHIPNATION 2025 representa precisamente esa visión, un punto de encuentro entre la industria, la ciencia, el emprendimiento y las políticas públicas, un espacio desde el que impulsar oportunidades y crear alianzas. Les doy la bienvenida y les agradezco su compromiso. Buenas tardes y muchísimas gracias.
Muchas gracias, director general de la Agencia Canaria de Investigación, Innovación y Sociedad de la Información del Gobierno de Canarias. Thank you very much, Mr. Javier Franco. Y ahora nos gustaría invitar al escenario al director general de la Sociedad Española de Transformación Tecnológica, la SET, el señor Javier Ponce, General Manager of the Spanish Society for Technological Transformation, SETT. Welcome on board.
Buenas tardes. En primer lugar, gracias por la invitación y por la organización del evento ASEMI. Presidente del Cabildo, director general de la Agencia de Investigación, Innovación y Sociedad de la Información Canaria. Querido Carlos, nos juntamos una vez más en un evento que yo creo que es capaz de aglutinar la mayor parte de los equipos, tanto públicos como privados, trabajando en el ámbito de los semiconductores. Y quisiera, en primer lugar, hacer algunas referencias de mercado que creo que son relevantes en la situación actual de este sector o macrosector que está afectando ya, si no lo hacía ya en el pasado, a la mayor parte de los sectores económicos de actividad. Este sector tiene unas previsiones, las mejores estimaciones a mediados de este año 25 se estimaban en un crecimiento anual acumulado hasta el año 27 del 7,1%, por tanto un crecimiento sostenido, si bien con una tendencia ligeramente a la baja en cuanto a la demanda total de semiconductores. Estos semiconductores están entrando en un ciclo de crecimiento por dos efectos tractores, que son desde la automoción, con un efecto importante o una importancia relevante en el mundo europeo. La electrificación de los vehículos es uno de los sectores de principal demanda de semiconductores en nuestro continente. Y la irrupción de la inteligencia artificial en prácticamente todos los ámbitos profesionales y personales de los ciudadanos en entornos o países desarrollados, que están exigiendo cada vez más una velocidad de cómputo y que suponen unos retos sustanciales para el desarrollo de nuevos semiconductores. Además, están dando circunstancias como el lanzamiento de la generación de las primeras grandes constelaciones de órbita baja de satélites, a los que muy probablemente veremos cómo van a incidir en el mundo de las comunicaciones, puesto que ya se está hablando de la posibilidad de ofrecer conectividad a vehículos, aeronaves o barcos a través de estas constelaciones, no solo la constelación que ya tiene en marcha SpaceX, sino que también fabricantes incluso de vehículos chinos ya están hablando del lanzamiento de constelaciones para ofrecer sistemas de conectividad continua con los vehículos a través de los sistemas ADAS que van a incluir en el futuro. Una demanda, como digo, sostenida, muy variada, muy dispar y que exige, sin duda, un reposicionamiento europeo sobre cómo vamos a abordar o cómo vamos a reposicionarnos en este sector que tradicionalmente, o que hemos venido quizá claramente rezagado en Europa frente a otras áreas económicas mundiales. Desde la Unión Europea se está reconsiderando el posicionamiento, está ahora en análisis el lanzamiento de una ley de chips, una segunda ley de chips europea. Esperemos que pueda dar luz en el año que viene, a primeros del año que viene, esta nueva ley europea de chips. Y por parte española mantenemos una hoja de ruta que se estableció a través del lanzamiento del PERTE Chip, que nos ha permitido a la Sociedad Española para la Transformación Tecnológica, es una entidad nueva, que llevamos prácticamente un año y 4 meses lanzar un mecanismo de coinversión público-privada de forma que nos permita capitalizar a empresas españolas que se posicionen en el mundo de los semiconductores. Hemos aprobado ya cerca de 1.000 millones de euros vinculados a semiconductores en este país, en coinversión con inversores privados. Por tanto, estamos hablando de una movilización superior a los 2.000 millones de euros en este sector en nuestro país, que, como digo, llevaba algunas décadas sin una actividad industrial relevante en este ámbito. Seguimos apostando por los 3 pilares, 3+1 diría yo, pilares que identificamos con capacidades suficientes en nuestro país en la parte fundamentalmente académica y científica, que son el diseño de semiconductores basándonos en un nuevo código, un código abierto, el RISC-V, que sería la alternativa que están desarrollando no solo Europa, sino también China y algunas empresas americanas, como código de desarrollo, de diseño de semiconductores alternativo al X86 y al código ARM, que son los 2 códigos que actualmente se utilizan a nivel internacional y que tienen naturaleza propietaria. Como digo, en RISC-V España tiene un posicionamiento singular. Lideramos el proyecto para el proyecto europeo para el diseño del microprocesador de altas prestaciones europeo basado en RISC-V. Se han generado un conjunto de startups españolas ya diseñando en RISC-V los primeros chips. Este es el primer vector de inversión que definimos como prioridad en el PERT-chip. El segundo está vinculado a la fotónica, otro área donde España dispone de unas capacidades demostradas, sobre todo de nuevo en el ámbito científico y académico, donde ya hemos desarrollado y hemos entregado prototipos, incluso en fotónica, a distintos ámbitos, inicialmente en el ámbito militar, ahora ya en el ámbito civil. Hemos constituido la primera fábrica de chips fotónicos en España, en el noroeste español. Estamos ahora con iniciativas en otras zonas geográficas, también para introducir capacidades de fotónica. Hemos recientemente autorizado el Consejo de Ministros una gran inversión para la construcción de una fábrica de sustratos basados en diamante sintético para el desarrollo de chips con alta disipación térmica. Hay iniciativas para el desarrollo de sustratos de carburo de silicio en España. Vamos a ver si fructifican y avanzan en esa línea. El tercer pilar es el apoyo a las pymes en cuanto a la incorporación de la microelectrónica, y esto lo estamos haciendo a través de la inversión, una gran inversión pública de la construcción de unas salas blancas en Málaga, que en colaboración con la Fundación IMEC, una fundación de relevancia internacional en el mundo de los semiconductores. Y el +1 que decía es la parte de empaquetado avanzado, que creemos que puede haber una oportunidad para España como referente internacional en Europa para el desarrollo de empaquetado avanzado, que complementaría algunas de las líneas iniciales. Hemos hecho también alguna prospección para intentar atraer capacidades de manufactura, de manufactura microelectrónica, no fotónica, en nodos no excesivamente cerca del borde tecnológico, porque somos conscientes de las necesidades que puede requerir una inversión de esa naturaleza y porque creemos que primero hay que trabajar en nodos con suficiente eficiencia, pero sin ir al leading edge de la tecnología, que eso ya lo estamos haciendo a través de centros de investigación que están colaborando con las nuevas fábricas de Intel en Estados Unidos, de Armstrong y de muy pocos nanómetros. Creo que la hoja de ruta está trazada, las inversiones se están formalizando. El sector creo que tiene una proyección estupenda, como decía, con esas previsiones de crecimiento sostenido acumulado hasta al menos el año 2027, aunque este sector es muy cíclico y si uno analiza la historia de los últimos 20-30 años, aparecen ciclos de subidas y bajadas. Desde luego estamos en un ciclo claramente positivo y en el que creo que pueden surgir muchas oportunidades, y desde la SED, desde luego, vamos a intentar apoyar todas aquellas que sean posibles y que sean viables desde el punto de vista empresarial, por tanto, que tengan una rentabilidad esperada en el sector y vamos a favorecer todo lo que podamos la generación de conocimiento, como ya lo hemos hecho desde el Ministerio de Transformación Digital con la financiación de 17 cátedras vinculadas a semiconductores y además con esa capacidad que se está generando para atraer talento en este sector, que cada vez empezamos a recibir más demanda de qué posibilidades de instalación en España existen para generar estas capacidades. No escapa Canarias de estas iniciativas, de hecho, hemos invertido en una compañía canaria que ha desarrollado una tecnología puntera, absolutamente puntera, en metrología de la planitud de obleas, de wafers. Es una tecnología de gran valía y ahora lo que estamos apoyando con la ampliación de capital y futuras ampliaciones que pueden ocurrir, estamos apoyando la industrialización y la puesta en mercado de estos sistemas que pueden, sin duda, generar empleo cualificado y capacidad industrial desde las islas hacia el entorno europeo o mundial. Por tanto, una oportunidad que está abierta y que creemos que se abre a todos los territorios españoles para poder introducir talento, como digo, de mano de obra muy cualificada y con unas rentabilidades que hoy las estamos viendo, desde luego a nivel de hardware son espectaculares. Si uno tiene un producto singular, está demostrado que el mercado lo agradece y lo financia. Y a partir de ahí, pues de nuevo, enhorabuena a SEMI por la organización del evento. Muchas gracias al Cabildo y al Gobierno de Canarias por acoger. Es una pena que hoy no nos acompañe la alcaldesa por acoger este evento. Y a disposición la Sociedad Española para la Transformación Tecnológica, precisamente para eso, para conseguir esa transformación que nos tiene que llevar a introducirnos de forma intensa en estos sectores de alta tecnología. Muchas gracias.
Muchísimas gracias, don Javier Ponce, director general de la Sociedad Española de Transformación Tecnológica. Thank you very much, Mr. Javier Ponce, General Manager of the Spanish Society of Technological Transformation. Y ahora también es un honor para nosotros recibir en el escenario al presidente del Cabildo de Gran Canaria. It's a honor for us to receive on stage to the President of Cabildo de Gran Canaria, el señor Antonio Morales. Bienvenido, welcome.
Muchas gracias. Buenas tardes, señor director general de la Agencia Canaria de Investigación, señor director de la Sociedad Española de Transformación Tecnológica, presidente de SEMI, director de la Sociedad de Promoción Económica de Gran Canaria, vicerrector, señoras y señores. Un saludo y una bienvenida especial a los que han venido desde otros lugares a Gran Canaria. Es un honor, en nombre del Cabildo, del Gobierno de la isla, darles la bienvenida a esta nueva edición del Congreso de la Asociación Española de Semiconductores e Industrias Afines. Un encuentro que refleja la pujanza de un sector que desempeñará un papel importante en el futuro tecnológico y económico de nuestro país. Agradezco la elección de Gran Canaria como sede de este foro. Supone para nosotros el reconocimiento también de nuestra isla como un territorio capaz de acoger y promover proyectos estratégicos de innovación y desarrollo industrial. Una isla que está construyendo con paso firme un ecosistema que la ciencia, la empresa y la administración cooperan para generar oportunidades de negocios sostenibles y de alto valor añadido. Vimos una etapa apasionante, compleja, en la que Europa se ha propuesto reforzar su soberanía tecnológica y su autonomía industrial. En ese contexto, la industria de los semiconductores y la microelectrónica ocupa una posición central como base de la digitalización, la transición energética y la modernización productiva. Gran Canaria quiere formar parte de ese esfuerzo colectivo. Queremos contribuir a que España, Europa, Canarias fortalezcan sus capacidades científicas e industriales mediante la cooperación, la especialización y el talento que favorezcan un desarrollo sostenible. En este sentido, queremos hacer valer las capacidades y las ventajas de nuestro ecosistema. La Universidad de Las Palmas de Gran Canaria aporta a este esfuerzo un valor incalculable. En primer lugar, la variada y cualificada oferta de titulaciones STEM. En el último curso, más de 3.000 estudiantes, lo que supone, sin lugar a dudas, una potente cantera de profesionales para empresas tecnológicas. La OLPGC dispone de institutos de investigación reputados y consolidados en estos ámbitos. El Instituto Universitario de Microelectrónica Aplicada, el Instituto de Sistemas Inteligentes y Aplicaciones Numéricas en Ingeniería o el Instituto Universitario para el Desarrollo Tecnológico e Innovación en Comunicaciones. Desde hace años, con más de 200 investigadores adscritos, realizan una labor de investigación aplicada, reconocida nacional e internacionalmente en áreas relacionadas con las tecnologías avanzadas en la información. Para reforzar todo este engranaje, el Cabildo, a través de la Sociedad de Promoción Económica de Gran Canaria y de la mano de la Universidad de Las Palmas de Gran Canaria, ha puesto en marcha el proceso de diseño y construcción de un centro dotado de laboratorios y salas blancas para localización de empresas y proyectos de los ámbitos de la microelectrónica, la óptica y la fotónica, así como la industria aeroespacial. Este centro, que estará ubicado en el Parque Científico Tecnológico de la Universidad de Las Palmas de Gran Canaria, ofrecerá 7.000 metros cuadrados de espacios e infraestructuras adaptadas a las necesidades de las empresas y sus proyectos. Estas nuevas instalaciones estarán disponibles para el acogimiento de empresas en 2027. Le invito desde ya que contacte con la Sociedad de Promoción Económica, con el Parque Tecnológico de la Universidad, para evaluar las posibilidades de este nuevo espacio. Sin lugar a dudas, este centro marcará un antes y un después en la consolidación de Gran Canaria como un enclave de referencia para la industria de la microelectrónica y la aeroespacial. No debemos olvidarnos de que además de nuestras capacidades ofrecemos un entorno fiscal altamente competitivo para la inversión, la investigación y la innovación. Ya hizo referencia a ello el director de la ICISI. El régimen económico y fiscal de Canarias proporciona instrumentos únicos en Europa para impulsar la I+D+I con deducciones fiscales de hasta el 75% en actividades de investigación y desarrollo, así como otros incentivos para la implantación de empresas de base industrial y tecnológica. A ello se suma la Zona Especial Canaria, que permite operar con un tipo impositivo reducido al 4% del impuesto de sociedades. Todas estas condiciones, junto con la estabilidad institucional, la seguridad jurídica europea, la conectividad internacional, la calidad de vida y el creciente dinamismo de nuestro tejido empresarial, hacen de Gran Canaria un lugar excepcional para invertir e innovar. Nuestro equipo de la SPEC, los representantes de los institutos universitarios y del Parque Tecnológico de la Universidad están presentes en este evento y también están, desde luego, a su disposición para informarles de todas las ventajas y oportunidades que ofrece nuestra isla para desarrollar proyectos. El Cabildo de Gran Canaria seguirá apoyando decididamente este camino, fortaleciendo las alianzas con la universidad, el sector privado, las instituciones nacionales e internacionales, de Canarias, por supuesto, que comparten esta visión de futuro. Quiero agradecer sinceramente a la Asociación Española de Semiconductores e Industria afines su confianza al elegir Gran Canaria como sede de este encuentro. Y también quiero expresar mi reconocimiento a todos los investigadores, ingenieros, empresarios y representantes públicos, hombres y mujeres que trabajan cada día por una industria tecnológica más fuerte, más sostenible y más humana. Espero que este congreso sea un éxito, que también puedan disfrutar en nuestra isla. No les quiero decir que ojalá deje llover o ojalá siga lloviendo, que ustedes se mojen un poquito, necesitamos el agua mucho en nuestra isla y disfruten también, por lo tanto, de nuestra hospitalidad. Muchísimas gracias.
Muchas gracias, don Antonio Morales. Thank you very much, Mr. Antonio Morales, President of Cabildo de Gran Canaria. Y ahora, bueno, por su apoyo también, queremos darle las gracias. Y ahora también nos gustaría escuchar las palabras de don Carlos Pardo. Él es el director de ASEMI. Mr. Carlos Pardo, we invite you to come on stage. He's President of Spanish Association of Semiconductors. Welcome on stage.
Authorities, Javier, members of the association, future members of the association, which hope you will join. Welcome to everybody. It has been a pleasure to organize this event. I want to thank Alfonso and all the team that they have done this fantastic work. I really want to thank the local government with all the support, both giving these spaces, but also providing money, which is always needed. This year, I have made another mistake. Since we created SME like 4 years ago, I thought, well, SME will be 4 or 5 companies only, because in Spain, the infrastructure, the ecosystem is really minimal. And I make a big mistake because we are more than 100 members already. And when we were discussing whether we should come to Canary Islands or not, I again said, to Canary Islands, it will be fantastic, but we are going to be only 100, I think, because if in Valencia we were 250, in Canary Islands we will be only 100, because it's so difficult to come here. And again, I was wrong, okay? And I'm happy that I was wrong, because I can see all these faces, and beyond that I was wrong or not, what I really think, I really feel proud of the association, but really proud of the members. We had the opportunity with the partnership to really take control of the semiconductors industry, to transform our industry, which we were just a few companies at the beginning, to a huge ecosystem. When I go through the list of members and I look to the projects, it's amazing. All the initiative, all the innovation that you are leading. And I really feel proud of the association, but proud of you. And well, having all you together today, I'm really happy that it's happening. Every year we come more people. That means that there is need to share our interest, discuss about technical things, about political things. We have been transforming this event. Remember, the first event was very political. We were trying to evaluate what is this partnership thing, where is the money? Everybody's talking about money, but where is it? That I remember was a discussion in like 3 years ago. Now we have a lot of panelists and people talking about real technical things, projects. We are going to talk about RISC-V, backend, neuromorphic. There is a lot of very concrete topics, design, manufacturing. Okay, really, really fantastic. And well, again, welcome. I hope that after 3 years, after 3 days, we really feel that it has been fantastic and it makes sense to repeat. As you know, next year we'll be in Barcelona, and I hope that the Canary Islands will make it very difficult to the Barcelona guys to make it better. So I think that this event is fantastic, it's very well organized, and yeah, thank you for coming and have fun.
Muchísimas gracias, Carlos Pardo. No le quepa duda, se lo vamos a poner difícil a Barcelona. Do not hesitate, we're going to put it hard to Barcelona. Gracias a todos, su implicación y liderazgo está siendo clave para fortalecer el ecosistema tecnológico, científico e industrial en nuestro país. Thanks to all of you, your presence here clearly reflects the strategic importance of this industry for our territory and also for our country. Muchas gracias por sus palabras, por su compromiso con el futuro tecnológico de España. Thank you very much for your words and for your commitment to Spain's technological future. Y ahora vamos a continuar con una apertura, un opening keynote. We'll now continue with the opening keynote y vamos a agradecer la presencia del vicepresidente para Europa, Middle East y Asia de Siemens EDA. We appreciate the presence of the Vice President EMEA Siemens EDA, Mr. Jeffrey Lee.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. And I'd just like to say thank you for AE Semi for the invite to come here today and talk to you all about the exciting opportunity we have across Spain and Europe with regard to semiconductors and electronic systems. As I was introduced, my name's Jeff Lee. I'm the Vice President of Siemens Electronic Design Automation across Europe, Middle East and Africa. I'm based in the UK, but you probably hear from my accent. I'm originally from Scotland. I'm actually from the Highlands of Scotland. So we don't really have good weather there, so it's great to be somewhere where there's actually really good weather at this time of year. So I'd just like to thank you for that. Also, you know, when I think of Spain, I think of, there's a lot of focus in Spain, particularly in electronics. You have a lot of dedication, as you just heard, 100 companies now across the region. And also, you've got a lot of passion. And I just wanted to walk through a couple of things before I go into the main topics. And that's really what I like to aim on, is in the passion that you have here in Spain. You know, the first passion, as you all know about, is football. And I'm also pleased to say Scotland qualified for the World Cup. So, hooray! And I'm looking forward to a final against Spain. That would be great. Also, the passion is in your tennis. You know, you had Nadal, now you've got Alcaraz. And, of course, in Scotland, we had a fantastic tennis player, but he's now retired. But Alcaraz is my number one supporter. I mean, he's number one supporter. I love everything he does, but that's another area of passion. And, of course, the other one about, I would say, beautiful scenery is your beaches. You know, you may not believe this, but we actually have good beaches in Scotland, but you typically don't sunbathe. But the other passion I see over the last few years, as was outlined in some of the presentations, was really semiconductors is booming across Europe, and particularly here in Spain. And I can see that becoming a major focus for the region. And hopefully the same results that we've seen in football and tennis, we can also see with semiconductors across the region. So I'm very much looking forward to working with all of you as you're successful in your companies. What I'm planning to do today is just talk a little bit about what's happening in the world and why semiconductors is at the heart of everything and everything we do in society. Also, the ecosystem that we're seeing in Europe and how that is expanding, and some of the exciting areas that was touched on earlier with like RISC-V. There's also high-performance computing companies and initiatives. And then I'll finish off with what we are doing in Siemens, but also Siemens EDA, in terms of investing for your success and making sure the semiconductor industry is successful across the region. So as I touched on, semiconductors and electronic systems are really what's powering the world. They're basically in everything that we touch. Everyone in here today has basically used a semiconductor to get here, either through your Google Maps, or you've used it for your boarding pass, or for any other capability on your phone. You're using a semiconductor as we speak. You know, if someone's texting or doing something like that. I recently had the opportunity to talk to some undergraduates at Cambridge University, and I was trying to relate semiconductors to what they do, you know, a bunch of 18 and 19-year-olds. And I was explaining about, obviously, Google Maps. And one of the things that they were talking about was, you know, one of the first things you go to university, you're trying to find a partner. And of course, semiconductors, the algorithms that are used in these dating apps are really using AI on these semiconductors. So I said to them, you know, semiconductors is enabling love. And they all kind of got it. So as I say, semiconductors is enabling everything and everything we do. Some of the key things that we see with semiconductors, particularly the last 4 or 5 years, we're seeing a big dependency on semiconductors everywhere and in the electronic systems that they're part of. One of the big growth areas is software. As we know, software is becoming dominant in a lot of the products that we develop. You know, in a car today, we're talking tens of millions of lines of code to enable a car. And actually at Mercedes said last year, they're really driving towards becoming a software company. It's all about over-the-air updates. That's how you get your experience in the car now. It's not, you know, the handling of the car. It's more the experience in the car as a software-defined product. So that's a big shift we're seeing. And obviously, to validate software, you have to validate it on your system and also in your semiconductor. The other area is around artificial intelligence. I think a lot of you in this room, we're hearing a lot about AI. NVIDIA is everywhere talking about AI. And I think with what we're seeing, it's touching everything we do in semiconductors. It's not just AI in the chip, it's also the software and the applications on top of that. And that's creating a big boom in the demand for semiconductors, and I think an exciting time for us to grow the industry together. One thing I thought was really interesting, if you look at the adoption of technology, the personal computers, it took 10 years to get 30% of a household to adopt a personal computer. The internet, for 10 years, it was 65% of households. Already with generative AI, in the last 2 to 3 years, we're getting close to 50% of households are using AI applications. It's an amazing growth in technology. So that's going to touch everyone who's using AI in their different applications. The other area I'm seeing a lot of growth in semiconductors is sustainability. So a lot of companies are looking for sustainable solutions. We don't have an unlimited energy supply, and semiconductors can help control that energy. We're looking at new innovations in data centers so that they just don't keep on growing in terms of their power consumption. I know here in Europe, we've got innovative companies looking at high-performance computing to reduce the power that's required. Just in the US, they're claiming in the next few years, 12% of the total energy used in the US will be with data centers if we don't do anything about it. And of course, that's what we really want to try and achieve, is making our planet more sustainable. The last thing is on silicon nationalism. This is one of the drivers that's really going after semiconductors. It was realized 4 or 5 years ago, the supply chain for semiconductors was critical to our success and critical to our industries and economy in every country. And what we're seeing because of the wars between, the trade wars between US and China, it's creating some new opportunities. The European Union is investing, as we know, in the European Chips Act, and they've committed 43 billion towards that. There's also what's called Chips Act 2.0, which is now another tranche of investment over the next 4 to 5 years. So we're seeing a lot of opportunities here in Europe, but also elsewhere in the world, which will really help bolster and grow the semiconductor market. Just on wafer scaling alone, if you look at manufacturing, Europe is doubling what it did in the previous decade. We're seeing a lot of investment on the continent of Europe, and we're seeing in some of the other types of manufacturing, not just advanced semiconductor, different companies growing in Europe. So it's an exciting time where we can really invest, become more sovereign across Europe and also each country. We also have seen in semiconductors a large increase in what we call ASIC, so application-specific ICs. So this is the grown by AI chips, like what NVIDIA is doing, also high-performance computing chips. Data centers are driving that need. Just the UK government committed 14 billion to data center growth in the UK. So most countries are now doing this. And also auto electrification. So that's the automotive infrastructure needs a large infrastructure in every country, which is driving the electronic systems that are needed. And a lot of this is, as I say, across the domains, industrial, computing, communications, consumer, and automotive. So we're seeing a lot of growth in all of those areas with ASIC design starts. Also, if we look at advanced processes, so semiconductor processes, over the next 5 years, we're going to see a large increase in 7 nanometer and below. A lot of those are high-end digital designs. We do have companies here in Europe who are developing products in these areas. And I think that is growing the demand for solutions from companies like Siemens, but also manufacturing capabilities to meet that demand. So we've seen a big growth in that process. One of the challenges that we have as an industry, because of that big growth in ASIC design starts and also the advanced processes, we're seeing some big challenges. And this is where Siemens and the whole EDA market, electronic design automation market, can help. They're saying 75% of the designs today are behind schedule, which is quite worrying. The other thing that's more worrying, if you look at ASIC design starts, only 14% of them work right first time. And of FPGA designs, it's about 13%. And this is, because of complexity mainly, also because of variety of teams, lack of skills in our labor force. This is another area we need to look at. It's not just high-end digital that we're having these challenges, it's also an analog mixed signal. And these are the areas that we're committed to working with you to get that right first silicon and also get the right first FPGA. So it's definitely a task we've got on our table, and I'd like to make sure we work with all of you to solve those problems. The other thing, if I look at cost, this is a very interesting one. It's quite eye-opening, the cost of a semiconductor. So if we look at a 7-nanometer semiconductor today, it's about $250 million to make your design the first time. When you go down to 1 nanometer, we're now looking at nearly $1 billion. Now, of course, what companies are doing, they're looking to partner with people, they're looking to reuse IP from other companies to reduce these costs. But they are staggering. The other one is the schedule. If you look at people, person, months, it's 4xing, 5xing from a 7-nanometer development to 1 nanometer. How can we make that more efficient? There's things like AI can really help us here to make you more efficient and give you that ROI. So that cost and schedule is skyrocketing, as I said, as you go down the process nodes and go on the complexity. And this is where, as an industry, we need to work together to make that more achievable. So the opportunity is, as we look at these, I suppose, national challenges and big challenges for semiconductor, is we can look at the process and take advantage of some of the AI capabilities. So I'll go through some of those areas. We know the semiconductor market is massive. By 2030, they reckon it's going to be about 1.2 trillion globally. Here in Europe, the EU Chips Act is trying to get up to 20% of that. So it's a big, audacious goal to get to 20% for Europe. Also, the growth in semiconductors with AI in it is 34% CAGR, so amazing growth in chips. And it's not just the high-end chips of AI, there'll be other types of chips that you do, which I'll come on to a bit later. So it's a big opportunity of how can we harness that. The good news is the process that's behind this. I think one of the speakers mentioned earlier about, we go to angstrom level, is there till 2036 to support this in terms of process capability. So there's big companies like ASML here in Europe, but also the big foundries like TSMC, Intel, and others that are really putting the money behind this to make sure we can make the silicon that meets the demands. As I mentioned, AI, there's a lot of things around AI. We're developing a lot of technology with AI inside of our tools to make sure that you as a user or as a company get the advantages. We know that people are looking for AI workloads, so that means more compute, therefore data centers. As I mentioned before, the power is a challenge, so we need to make sure we can address that. Also, the higher performance. People are expecting answers immediately, no matter what your question. So your language models that you develop need to be sophisticated, but also be able to access it immediately. So that's one thing we're working on. And then the fast-changing AI workloads. So you develop a large language model, you want to make sure you update it and you make it future-proof. And it actually has access to your data in an easy way. So these are some of the areas that we're seeing a leap in compute that's needed to address some of these big AI challenges. So it's not just the AI algorithm itself that represents an opportunity for semiconductors, it's how we help with these areas. A lot of you heard of generative AI. This is where everybody's using that today. So we've seen a massive adoption of generative AI with things like ChatGPT, etc. And that is continued to progress. The next thing is what we call agentic AI, which are agents, which are specific to a certain area. So in semiconductor design, that could be, for example, you want to validate your semiconductor, you want to verify it. So you have a specific AI agent, we call it, to do the verification of your semiconductor. So it's a combination of applications you connect together to give you that AI workflow. So this is really what's happening in the industry. It's not just in electronics, it's in software development, it's in system development. They're looking at this flow of how we grab the different AI. And it's going to be a hybrid approach. It's not all going to be the latest and greatest AI. You might still use some machine learning capabilities that I remember when I was at university, we were doing things on that 30, 40 years ago. But yeah, it's a lot of advances there. And of course, what they're talking about in the future is the AI making decisions for you. That's going to be some time away, hopefully. Hopefully we'll all still be in jobs in the next decade. But yeah, I think it's the scale and the diversity that we're seeing in AI, how we apply that in the most effective way. One thing we've looked at in AI is what we call industrial-grade AI, because when you're talking about semiconductors, electronics, you don't want the AI to make a decision. You want to make sure it's validated, it's actually correct, because when you design that chip, if it's costing you $1 billion, you don't want it to be wrong. So we're putting a lot of effort into validating the AI algorithms that we provide for semiconductors and electronic design. And that's a big thing to make sure that you design your products. The one thing that you may have heard of earlier this summer was from NVIDIA. They call it physical AI. So this is a boom in where they're going to have an AI chip or an AI application in every single thing that moves. It's not just in the advanced things. Just like, remember 20 years ago, people said, why would you have Wi-Fi for your fridge? Now you're going to have AI in your fridge. So you're going to have AI in every mechanical device, everything that moves, to take advantage of some of those capabilities. So it's going to move completely to the edge with all the different products that we touch in terms of moving from lawnmowers to forklifts in the factory to cars, etc. So it is a big era for us, and I believe this is driving the growth in semiconductors. And to get to that, we have this vision inside of Siemens. It's called a software-defined, AI-powered, silicon-enabled product. So there's three things there. Software-defined is you define the spec for your product in a software world. Obviously, you're aiming towards semiconductors, so it's silicon-enabled to make sure that product works. And then we use the AI in the best possible way to make sure that we can develop the products effectively. If we look at the whole cycle of an electronic design system, this is not just semiconductors. It goes from the software definition, as I mentioned, all the way to the electronic system. We see it in 6 major chunks of development. And this is where we work with the industry to make sure that you can develop your products in the most effective way. Gone are the days where you build a car, you make a prototype, and then you figure out how the electronic systems work with the car, how the software works. You do it the other way around. You create a complete virtual environment of your product. We call it a digital twin inside of Siemens and also in the industry. And you have a virtual way of working all the way through this process until you actually can manufacture the product. And you make sure it's right first time. So that kind of sets the scene of some of the big trends, what we're seeing with AI, what we're seeing, with software, with AI, sustainability, and also with what we see across the nations. One thing I've been looking at across Europe is what are some of the key trends that Europe are doing to basically take advantage of this opportunity. The first one, as I mentioned, is the EU Chips Act. So this was established a few years ago. I'm proud to say Siemens are working closely with the EU and the CHIPS joint undertaking to make sure that we're part of that. And just this week, actually, we were in Malta just yesterday with some of my colleagues talking about what's called the design platform, which is helping startups and universities get off the ground more quickly and also breaking down those barriers it takes to get to a startup. The new thing about CHIPS Act 2.0, there's been some working parties looking at this, is the supply chain, AI chips, and also high-performance chips. That wasn't on the first charter. Now they're looking at that. The other thing we're seeing in Europe, there's a big investment in defense. The European Defense Fund has now 8 billion. And also they've grown what they call the VC fund for defense. So this is for startups in the defense area, particularly around things like drones and other types of defense products. We're seeing a big growth in those sectors. So it's not just semiconductors for consumer products or automotive products, it's also for defense products. And then if we look across the regions, there's a lot of these hubs they want to create, AI hubs, AI data centers in Europe to be autonomous. so that we're not totally reliant on the big AI data centers elsewhere in the world. This is going to grow semiconductor skills. It's going to grow employment. What we have found is every person in semiconductors, right now it's about 200 to 250,000 people doing semiconductor development in Europe. There's about 6x people employed in that industry around the ecosystem. Just here, I know in Spain, I'll mention this later, there's a lot of clusters of ecosystems and clusters of companies working together to take advantage of that. And this is what we're seeing in terms of the trends in Europe. You know, we've got some exciting developments. You know, I'll go through some of the main things around Europe, and then I'll mention what I'm seeing around Spain. Infineon have just launched you know, a new development up in Dresden, which is a good investment by the German government. Then NVIDIA have committed to making another data center in Israel. We're also seeing IMEC. They committed to a 1 nanometer photonics pilot line with the EU. Also here in Spain, in Malaga, we're seeing a big boom of companies and activities across the region, which is great to see. Even in Ireland, there's now 20,000 people in Ireland working on semiconductors, which is phenomenal. Also, Germany is putting 2 billion into new chip startups, and big companies like Nokia are now investing. So we're not only just, typically companies get acquired by American companies, so it's good to see that European companies are acquiring other companies. As we look at the CHIPS Act, as some of you may know, IMEC, CA-Leti in France and Fraunhofer in Germany, they've come together to create what they call the Platform Coordination Team to see how we can really drive the innovation in Europe and across the region. As some of you know, each EU member state has created a competence center to really drive the innovation in that country. So there's about 29 competence centers. And at the bottom here, these are the types of manufacturing that they're committed to as part of this. And it's great to see that, you know, here in Spain, there's a lot of great investment going into companies through the EU CHIPS Act initiative, as well as the Spanish government. Other key developments in Europe that are not happening elsewhere, RISC-V is gaining momentum. You know, we are seeing the possibility of this $1 trillion market, that about 100 billion will be around RISC-V cores inside of chips. So that is definitely an area to continue investing. And I know there's companies in the Spanish area looking at RISC-V. And there's some good predictions about where those applications could occur. And then on high-performance computing and AI, the EU had launched this DARE program, which is a consortium of companies led by the Barcelona supercomputer consortium, and also linking in OpenChip in Spain, as well as Accelera and Codicip, to really look at high-performance computing over the next 6 years. And now they're looking to take that even further, which is great to see. And then in Spain, I'm sure a few of you will mention this on the panel, there's some great investments going on in Spain. It's looking at getting alignment with with the EU CHIPS Act. It's doing the skills development, the 1,000+ new experts that they want to develop. Also, this parity chip program, which I'll mention a little bit later on what the goals of that are. So it's great to see that not only is EU investing, but each member state is investing a lot in microelectronics. If I look at the associations, this was mentioned earlier, you know, you said a few years ago it was 5 or 6 people, companies that would be part of this. Now we're over 100 in Spain. There's a lot of regional clusters as well, not just here in the Canary Islands, but also in Malaga, in Valencia, in Barcelona, in Madrid. And we're seeing that all over Europe, which is great for the industry. So we have to, if we're going to solve some of these challenges, we need to work together. And it's great to see all these different groups across the region. And as I mentioned, the Parity Chip is really looking at bolstering research, also the fabulous semiconductor companies, how do we get more of those in the region? And looking at manufacturing. As I mentioned, manufacturing is critical to our success. As I said, the EU want to have at least 20% of the semiconductors developed in the world on European soil. So that's a great initiative by them. We need to make sure we take advantage of that while we've got the momentum. So that kind of covers some of the European trends. what's happening across Europe in terms of the investments, also here locally in Spain. And I say it's exciting to be part of that. Being Siemens, where, as you know, we're based in Germany, the Siemens Digital Industry Software is part of Siemens, and that's really what my focus is what can we do to maximize what we do with you in Europe to take advantage of these opportunities. So I just wanted to touch on a few things about how Siemens can help. As I mentioned at the beginning, software, AI, sustainability, and silicon nationalism are really the areas that we can help. We can make sure the software gets validated effectively on your product. You can make sure you put AI into your company effectively. And it is a change management activity, so we can work with you to install that, get the flow working. How do we help with energy and the other parts of sustainability? And then with silicon nationalism, working with the communities, the ecosystems, and the partners in Europe to make us more successful, to go after that trillion-dollar market. And scary enough, in 2034, which is not far after 2030, it's going to go past 2 trillion, which is phenomenal opportunity for us all. And of course, you can't design a semiconductor without electronic design automation, which is the market that we are in as Siemens, is providing the technology and the tools and the solutions to realize the semiconductors and electronic systems that you are developing as companies. I'll just go through these quickly, but there's a lot of challenges that we're trying to solve with our customers, as you go to AI, as you go to advanced nodes, as you go to more complex systems. And where EDA is looking at these are just the top 9 challenges. How does automation, how can we take each of these and automate it as much as possible? And we're seeing AI and the ability to understand those areas individually and then provide that to our customers so that you can take advantage of that as you're developing your products, which means you can get to market quicker. Typically a high-end ASIC takes 4 years. We're seeing countries like China getting things out in a year now, getting a car out in a year. How can we achieve that? And I think AI gives us that tipping point where we can now change the way we do things to get those products out quicker. So there's a number of areas here. I'd be happy to talk with all of you or some of you later about how we can really help realize and solve some of these challenges. The one thing I mentioned at the beginning was digital twins and AI. So as Siemens Digital Industry Software, we're putting together a complete flow. We call it the most comprehensive digital twin. So it's from concept to manufacturing, virtualizing that so that you can test every single scenario, make sure you've got all the problems solved before you manufacture it. And then the EDA AA system we've developed is a platform that you as a company, if you've got some AI capabilities or you've got some learnings, you can plug it into our system along with our capabilities to take advantage of your knowledge and our knowledge together. We've gotten a lot of excitement around that from big companies and even small and medium-sized companies who they've already got some secret source or they've got some unique capabilities they want to take advantage of. So it's an exciting time as we go to help customers realize those products virtually, but also take advantage of AI in your development process. One commitment that Siemens made, so I come originally from a company called Mentor Graphics. We got acquired in 2017. And since Siemens made the decision back in 2007 to get into software, they've actually invested over 20 billion because they realized this is really where the future is. It's software solutions, but also software for designing semiconductors, electronic systems, etc. And it's basically creating that link between the real world and the digital world throughout the whole development process. And that continues to be the commitment from Siemens. Some of you may have heard of the Roland Busch talk about the one tech company. We're moving from an industrial conglomerate to a technology company, and software is at the heart of it, which is an exciting place to be. So, just to conclude, I think it's an exciting opportunities for everyone here. And we're in Siemens and Siemens EDA are here to help. And I'm looking forward to talking to some of you at the break and also for those attending the dinner tonight, and to see how we can take advantage of these opportunities to really bolster Spain, Europe, and the business across. So I'd just like to say thank you very much for listening, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lee. Just stay with us.
Okay.
You have there more water if you want. And if you let me do this.
Okay.
Hi, you're not invited to sit in one of your chairs of the panelists. Bueno, estaba intentando imitar un poco el acento escocés. So just take your seat
Okay,
if you don't
thank you.
mind. Thank you very much. Pues vamos ahora a dar paso al panel que nos lleva hoy a aprender un poquito más de todo lo que pues estamos viviendo. Para mí y los que tenemos una edad es ya el futuro, estamos viviendo en el futuro. Let's now go into the panelist table, and for me, as for those who have an age, it's like living in a future. And, bueno, el panel, como ustedes bien saben por el programa, se titula, the panel is entitled, How is Spain Positioning in the Global Semiconductor Landscape? Para esta sesión va a moderar el presidente de ASEMI, Carlos Pardo, al que invitamos, si está con nosotros, a subir al escenario. Y mientras voy a ir presentando a todos los panelistas. This session will be moderated by Carlos Pardo. Bienvenido. Carlos, President of ASEMI, featuring the participation of, como bien saben y han escuchado, a Jeffrey Lee. Él es vicepresidente de Europa, Middle East y África de Siemens EDA. Geoff Lee started his career at Mentor Graphics Siemens in 1999, where he was part of the team who successfully launched the Calibre EDA solution into the semiconductor market. Between 2001 and 2019, he held several senior account management roles across Europe before moving to lead the strategic accounts team in 2019, focused on the largest customers globally. And in January 2024, he became the Vice President East Midland, Europe, Middle East, and Africa at Siemens EDA, responsible for leading the business across Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Un poquito más about, a bit more about himself. He is passionate about technology, inspiring people, thought leadership, and leading by example. Geoff holds a BNG honors degree in electronic and AMP, electrical engineering from Robert Gordon's University, and a diploma in marketing. Queremos también invitar a Javier Ponce Martínez. Javier Ponce Martínez has been the General Manager of the Spanish Society for Technological Transformation. Bienvenido, welcome, Javier. And he's leading this Spanish society since August 2024. He holds a degree in industrial engineering from the Polytechnic University of Madrid, specialized in electronics and automation, and an MBA from Instituto de Empresa. He also holds a diploma in European communities from the Spanish Diplomatic School. He began his career in 1986 as a researcher at the Spanish National Researcher Council, and as a microelectronics engineer at Ampere. From 1992 onward, he spent more than 30 years at the Center of the Development of Industrial Technology, CDTI, holding positions such as Spanish Delegate of European Union R&D programs, Head of Studies and Promotion, Chief Financial Officer, and General Manager between 2018 and 2024. Nos gustaría también ahora invitar a Roger Espasa. Él es fundador y CEO de Semidynamics. Roger Espasa, welcome on stage.
Hi, Roger.
Él es fundador y CEO de Semidynamics. He is the founder and CEO of Semidynamics with a strong background in microprocessor design. Before founding the company, he led processor development at Broadcom and held key engineering roles at Intel, contributing to several 8 projects, including Knights Ferry, Connor, Landing, and Hill. Early in his career, he worked on vector extensions for the Alpha architecture, and he also earned a PhD in computer science from Universitat Politécnica de Catalunya, and has published over 40 papers and holds 9 patents with 41 international filings. Nos falta entre nosotros al presidente Javier González Piñal. ¿Perdón? Ah, pues no me informaron, no importa. Soraya Gamonal, representando a Deloitte. I'm really sorry, Soraya, bienvenida. I'm really sorry, but I don't have your biography.
I will
Welcome on
introduce
stage.
myself, don't worry. Hello.
You
Hi,
can
Carlos.
introduce yourself during the panel. Y ahora, pues, me gustaría que les diéramos un aplauso a todos los invitados. Let's give them a big hand. Thank you for coming and for being with us today.
All right.
Thank you. Welcome again to everybody. Welcome to the panelists. We have several questions regarding the current situation of the Spanish semiconductor industry, and I would like to start with Jeffrey. You have a very fantastic position because you supply other tools. You have customers all around the world. You see all the initiatives and all the companies around the world, and now you are here in Spain looking to the Spanish ecosystem. How do you see us? Do you think there is an opportunity for Spain? How do you see our initiatives? What do you think will be key for Spanish semiconductor industry in the coming years?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I think, as you said, looking across the European landscape, we're seeing a lot of investment by different countries. And I think what I'm seeing, where the innovation is coming from, is there's some countries are actually going faster than others. It's good to see that here in Spain, that you have actually invested through the government, I would say in a faster way in certain companies than we've seen elsewhere. Some are a little bit slower. They're waiting, I don't know what they're waiting for, but they're waiting for, different things to happen around the EU Chips Act. They keep delaying what they're doing in terms of their launch of things for startups. They call it the design platform. But we still need to get going. And that's what I like about here in Spain, is particularly what I've seen with Semidynamics and other companies like OpenChip. They've got that investment without doing that themselves, and that's then growing the ecosystem. And I think the skill base you have from some of the universities, and I know there's some represented here, is good to see that you're investing in the skills that are needed, because they are high-end skills. We need to make sure that we work with the universities, we put the right training programs in place, and we're keen to do that. And the other thing I've seen with the research, it was great to see IMEC opening up in the Malaga Valley, because they are now committed to helping the region. And I think getting that combination of research, the talent in the universities, and also that access to investment quickly, I think you are starting to appear as ahead of some of the other areas. So it's great to see.
Thank you. Going back to Javier, you already said at the beginning that how you see the near future, but maybe due to your experience, you were in the CDTI, leading the CDTI, you have been investing in innovation in Spain for many, many years. Some of that innovation was semiconductors, and now you are focusing a lot on the semiconductors. What is your view beyond what you have said earlier?
Okay, thank you. First of all, I like Malaga Valley. Yeah. a nice word in relation with the new infrastructure we are building there, and we hope that it will be a central point just for giving services to small and medium enterprises in Europe, able to include microelectronics in their products. And I think it's a very important issue in relation with how to boost, because if we take the eye over the last maybe 20, 25 years, Spain was not developed, well developed this sector from an industrial point of view. But at least we have at present a very good recognition in relation with the capabilities coming from academia and scientific research centers. And I think Spain has a good position coming from this view in an international atmosphere. I think in microelectronics we have very good fundamentals on hybridization, on microelectronics and photonics. We have very good, strong teams and groups in academia related to photonics. That it's well recognized in Europe. As we are the leaders on pilot lines on photonics, so it is a demonstration of it. And also we are now present the leaders on one of the European projects making the design of the new microprocessor on RISC-V for high-performance computing. So I think we have, these are, our fundamentals are good. The backbone we have is really good, coming from this experience from academia and scientific research groups. So we need just to build the industrial ecosystem from these fundamentals to be able to be competitive on the international level. We have put, if I may, I will say, yes, we have put the seed financing exercise on maybe Dynamics, OpenChips, and other companies working on semiconductors. Now they have developed their own capabilities, are well known in the industry in Europe. We have some limitations. Yeah, we don't have large manufacturing facilities on very few nanometers. But maybe we are not at present in the real position to have it. Okay, we have a very uncertainty economic position in a global in the global situation. So it is when you speak with Asia Pacific area, they have some difficulties just to allocate money in Europe, as we have detected during the last 2 years. America is attracting all the investment coming from Asia Pacific. I don't know if it's attracting or if it's forcing just to invest there. Maybe both. And Europe needs to make their own job, just building from the base we have and growing up, taking the capacities we have in industry, industrial partners, and taking behind where are the strong situations on academic scientifics. Energy is crucial ones for this sector in the future, and we have the cheapest energy in Europe, and one of the cheapest and the best or the more green energy in the world. So it is a new vector that has to be considered for the new investment in this sector, of course. And we have a very nice situation in relation to talent. The new chair we have launched.
We'll talk about talent later.
And the large repository we have in Latin. It is a huge quantity of people there, very well formed, that has well connections with Spaniards, and they come here and work for the first day as any other European one. So it's, I think, another strong pillar we have in Spain.
Thank you. Roger, you are an entrepreneur. You just received, together with other 2 companies, the IPCI. You are focused on RISC-V development. What an adventure for a company located in Barcelona. How do you see the Spanish semiconductor industry? How is the opportunity?
Well, first, thank you for inviting me. I think Spain is very well positioned. So if Javier told me some very good things, but if you go from left to right or bottom to top, we have fantastic talent coming out of the universities, very good universities in Spain, also in Europe, but certainly in Spain. We have very good research centers that take this talent and put it in one next level. And then what we are building now, thanks to the investments by the SET, by the IPK and other things, is this fabless ecosystem. And this fabless where we would be, fabless accommodates a lot of people. I think is where Spain should focus. Maybe people will think, well, because he's a fabless, but really I think that's our opportunity because as Javier explained before, the very advanced nodes are in Taiwan or Arizona. It's very difficult. Rapidus in Japan. The not so advanced nodes are in Saxony, in Dresden. So it's not going to be easy to tell Europe, hey, you know, forget Dresden, do it in Malaga, although it's a fantastic initiative what we have in Malaga. So I think the foundry is not where we should focus. I like the next step, so fabless, foundry, my personal opinion is don't worry too much about it. Packaging is a very good opportunity. I heard good things about packaging because packaging can offer differentiating to the fabless. So a fabless alliance with packaging, in the end, TSMC makes us all equal. So TSMC is a okay, granted, right? So then the creativity of the fabless and the creativity of the packaging could make a difference. Then you take these chips and you put them into production, and I would repeat the energy thing. Now the people doing AI data centers are worried about where I get my next 30 gigawatts of energy and from where and how green it is. And I do think Spain has an opportunity. It would be sad if we put all these data centers in Spanish energy with our sun or wind or whatever, but then the chips are all American. So I hope we can solve the problem and actually supply Spanish and European chips to that. And then finally, just to connect to Jeff's excellent presentation on AI, the thing that I'm worried is, okay, we want to do AI, we do the European AI, we're lacking the AI models, right? So I think the AI models, we have Mistral, we have Multiverse, we have a few companies on the model space, but not as many as we would need to support a total AI ecosystem. So I think, you know, answering the question, the Spanish opportunity is very good with what we have. If we keep putting...
We will talk about that.
We will keep putting help, which we need. And then I would close my comment by saying the last bit of help that we can get from legislation, from the CHIPS Act, is not just that they put the word fabless in the CHIPS Act 2.0, which they forgot in 1.0. So let's hope they do a little bit better on the second round, and they learn that fabless are fundamental, that the foundry without fabless is totally useless. But the last thing is, how do we, within the World Trade Organization, how do we buy European? Because being part of the WTO makes you have certain obligations. You cannot do whatever you want, but we still have to, you know, help our local industry the way the US is doing and the way China is doing. Why would be the only big economical pole in the planet that doesn't help its own industry when the other two are definitely bypassing every known rule, whatever they signed it or not, and helping their industry. So I think with that little bit, I think we have a great position.
Thank you, Roger. So now we have here Soraya. You have now the opportunity to present yourself, but she's representing Deloitte, and she was telling me before that Deloitte has a fantastic view of all the grants and all the investments that are around the world in semiconductors. So they know where the money comes from and where the money goes. So it's a nice view. Soraya.
Thank you, Carlos. Nice to meeting you all today. I'm representing here effectively Deloitte. Deloitte is a company very well known for their audit activities. That is how we started 180 years ago. But ever since, we have been doing a few more things, and today we are a consultancy company very focused in technology development. And for instance, I can say last month of April, a few weeks after the Mobile World Congress, we launched our first satellite, and we did it in the cybersecurity aspect. It's a satellite that helps other satellites to protect themselves from cyber attacks. And another fun fact, not specifically related to us, but we support all the technology development around the Olympic International Committee, all the Olympic Games that you see from Paris 2 years ago. Now we are preparing the Marino ones. Next year, we will, not 2 years from now, we will be in LA. And everything related to from the technology, from the opening session, the broadcasting services, how we retransmit all the signals to the world, the cybersecurity, the access to the Olympic Village, everything is empowered with technology that we have been developed or coordinated. And this is something we feel very proud about. And apart from that, I specifically work on grants and incentives. And we are a team with presence in 52 countries. And we also monitorize here from Spain, and thanks to the support of the PERTE chip that give us very good, I don't want to use the word propaganda, but it's a little bit like that within the house. And we lead a team that monitorizes in 25 countries, which are all the incentives to the semiconductor industry, because this is a major industry for us. And we work with the 20 largest companies in the world and with many others. So what we do here is, well, we effectively know where the money comes and goes, but we also take care of the industry itself. And regarding how we see the position that this industry should have in the future, we think that there are mainly 2 key aspects regarding the Spanish landscape, that I think is the panel. And one is we need to be able to develop these geostrategical assets that will position ourselves as a unique value chain player. And I think this is very relevant, and thanks to the support that we have with the cátedras from PERTE chip, and there are also the IMEC coming to Spain with this new building they are building up in Malaga. We also have IBM quantum services that are being developed in their center in País Vasco. We have the Barcelona Supercomputing Center, and I'm sure I'm missing many of the other teams. And I remember a few hours ago when I was coming in the plane, I talked to some other travelers that were mentioning that last week there was the first meeting of all the cátedras together, which I think is a very beautiful initiative, because all these brains need to be connected. And with this, I think we will be able to perform some of these initiatives that will place us in the market with these unique solutions that no one else has. And as we say, we have challenges regarding the energy, we have challenges regarding the consumptions of resources, the critical materials, and I think at the end there are a lot of opportunities where we can place our technologies, but we need to put them together, all these efforts, and these initiatives, I think they will be very welcome. And the second one, the first one was this development of this geostrategical asset, will be to place them effectively in the market and help them to succeed. Because we are always, I'm sure I say nothing that you have already heard before, but we are very good creating papers, and we need to improve how we place those papers into market initiatives that have succeed and create business, employees, and so on. So I think this is a good opportunity with the help that the PERTE chip is bringing to focus on this talent attraction that has been already mentioned. But specifically, I think we need speed and scale. Scale because most of the companies are still very small, and this is a business where scale brings very good business opportunities, is very relevant. There are a lot of efficiencies when you are a bigger company, and the speed because the market abroad is moving faster, and we cannot stay just waiting. We need to move as fast as possible in this regards of taking this technology to the market and make it succeed.
Thank you, Soraya.
You're welcome.
If we were looking the news in the last days, we end up with the Nexperia crisis. Probably all of you have seen where Nexperia was closed, mainly because bureaucratic problems or political problems with China. And in Europe, again, the sovereignty problem arises again. We need to be able to produce ourselves our own products. And that huge dependency with Asia is becoming a real problem. And Jeffrey, you see the full world. And it's good, I make this question to you because we were discussing before that Spain is having different initiatives. We are going to have a foundry in optics, specialized in optics in Galicia. There are several initiatives here and there, packaging and so on. From your point of view, thanks that you can see the full world, where do you think Spain can contribute to the European sovereignty in production, in real manufacturing? Where should we focus?
Yes, and I think you're correct. You know, with the dynamics that are going on the geopolitical side, it's what is it we can do here in Europe and obviously in Spain. You know, I think if we look at the dependencies, there's a lot of dependencies right now on China in certain technologies, and also Taiwan and places like that. If we can bring some of that, you know, you mentioned about, Roger, about packaging, you know, we've got some great technologies there. We're investing in 3D IC and chiplet development. You know, that is an area we can really, I think, take a lead in Europe. We've got some great research there on advanced packaging and bringing chips together. So it may not be necessary that you manufacture the chip, but you can bring the solution together with the different chips. We see some great research. And actually in Europe alone, we have 4 or 5 initiatives on 3D IC. It'd be good if we could have it combined as one, but they've got 3 or 4. One focused on automotive, one looking at other industries. So I think that's an area we should invest in, manufacturing around the chiplet. You know, it may be 1 or 2 chips initially. It could be together on a single level, or you could have multi-die. So I think that's an area. I think on the process technology, you know, we do have some advanced research going on. And, you know, in Japan, they subcontracted IMEC to go and help them with Rapidus. Why can't we do the same thing here? That would be great. You know, they're doing that advanced fab there. So if we could try and harness that, I think we could do it if we could get the investment in the right area. But it is a lot of money for advanced manufacturing. And that's why I think where our specialities are photonics, is 3D IC, is MEMS, is other areas. But there's a number of there that I think we can do here in Europe. And then in Spain, you know, if we can, you know, figure out a way of where we can manufacture that. You know, one of the challenges I know we have here is getting planning approved, you know, to build a big factory, you know, because there is actually sustainability issues. So we need to somehow get through that. And in China, they don't seem to think too much about sustainability, but I think if we can figure that out, we could build something here in Spain as well as what they're doing in Germany.
Thank you, Jeffrey. When I'm talking with entrepreneurs and people in the semiconductor industry, and I ask what are your main concerns after this PERTE chip, and always I receive the same question: is the world going to end mid next year or not? Is there going to be more money or not? And we have here Javier that probably he can tell us whether the world is going to end or not, and whether the CHIP Act is going to open a new way of doing things. Roger has concerns regarding we are the good guys of the world. We are always polite, following the rules, and we see that in Korea, in China, in the US, they don't follow the rules. And we try to be strict, half private, half public. We have to follow all the European things, and people are going faster than us. Is going to change that? Is it going to be money? Is the end of the world? Tell us, Javier.
Okay.
Yes.
Step by step, okay? First of all, what's happening in the relation with partnership and the future of next year, what happened? We are now negotiating what are the positions we can have after, and I'm sure that we will have a solution for maybe not extending the present framework we have in relation with the recovery plan, but I'm sure that we will have a continuation with the possibility to invest or co-invest, as you mentioned, with private investors in semiconductor sectors and initiatives. I think that we will have a very, very good situation with a large coordination between all the public institutions related with financing, industrial capabilities. So I can say that we will have a continuation on doing investment for the future in relation with this sector. Okay, and going to CHIP Act, I think if we think twice about what are the lines that we have followed in Europe in relation with state aids, that means that we have very tough on following competence rules. And other areas like Asia and America follows another rules. That means competitiveness rules. It's a very different way how they are managing things. Yeah? Sometimes I said that if you compare a new startup in Europe and a new startup in America or maybe in Asia, you will see a big difference on the balance sheet. You will have in the European ones a lot of subsidies that every company take like incomes. And if you see the American or the Asian company, you will see incomes, yeah? Revenues. Of course, it's more easy for a private investor just to go inside a company that has revenues than a company that has subsidies. Yeah? This is a big difference, and it is the conclusion of making rules for competence or making rules for competitiveness. Yeah? That's why I took the opportunity when I was General Director of CDTI, the Spanish Innovation Agency, to launch the public pre-commercial procurement department, trying to overcome some of these difficulties and offering large contracts to prototyping, to make a prototype coming from startups, because it's a very different way when you are offering these type of things. Another background in relation with financing activities on startups in Europe is we have very few investors, private investors, able to put enough money to be the first into the market. And this is a big change that was happening in America for the last 10 years. They don't make the valuation of the companies taking in mind what are the IPs, the capabilities, the talent, the revenues of the company. They estimate what are the quantity of money they need to be the first into the market for the next 2-3 years. And they collect the money they need to be the first. Because in digital sector, if you are the first one, you will have better possibilities to survive and to be a huge company. So these two things, we need to approach to competitiveness and put away a little bit competence, first of all. And second, we need just to have a strong financial market able to finance huge quantity of money to boost companies to arrive the first into the market if we want to have any options for the future in one sector like this that you need a big quantity of money and you need to run, yeah? It's, and to run quick with your possible competitors. That's something Europe is thinking twice, I think, and we will see what are we able to arrange. We don't want to be foolish, please. Don't take 996, the new rules on Silicon Valley, because I think it's very awful just to work 9 hours, what's that, from 9 to 9 and 6 days per week. This is something that this is not in accordance with our lifestyle. It is coming a step backward from our position at present. We think we have talent. We have brilliant people here. We are able to afford this market with a nice solution, but don't be foolish. Just giving the IPs to the American companies that they come here, they put the money because they have huge funds, huge and large corporation, and they take all the talent we have put in our companies and take profit of them. So that's a critical position that Europe is now reflecting, and I hope we'll have a new framework able just to tackle this weakness. Yeah?
Thank you, Javier. By the way, I remember in my first startup, during the critical periods, I sleep 1 day every 2 because we were very, very motivated. That time passes, of course, now I can't. But so, Soraya, Javier is saying that it's going to be money. Fantastic. What are the policies that we should put to make sure that that money is properly used? Because we don't want to waste that money. That money is going to be paid by our grandchildren.
Yeah.
So we don't want to throw our money away. So please tell us, what should be the policies, how we should invest this money?
Well, it's very difficult for a consultant to advise on this. So straight away, but what I can bring to the table are some other examples of best practices we see around the world. First of all, it's important that we need to take into account that every country has a different culture. The way they do business, the way they organize their talent, how are their labor markets is significantly different, specifically if we talk about the different geographic areas, the big ones. You know, the Americas has nothing to do with Europe. At the same time, we have nothing to do with Asia Pacific. So what we have seen in this team we have that crosses 25 countries in 4 continents is that you previously mentioned, Javier, when you go to America, America is all about taxes. They believe very much in taxes. Everything has to be very fast. So what the President Trump did when he arrived to the White House and decided to change a few things was, okay, we have now this tax for, it's the 48 policy. They had the 25% of the CapEx investments for semiconductor can be deducted in the corporate income tax. That means that, well, he wanted to improve it. So in the OB3, it's more, I think it's more known as the One Big Beautiful Bill Act that he signed a few months ago. He said, well, instead of 25, we will give 35% of the capex as return on tax credits. If you don't have room enough in your corporate income tax to apply this tax incentive, just sell it to somewhere else. That is an opposite way as we have here. Well, we see this model that is the tax list that some companies are applying if they are bold enough, because it's not specifically approved by our tax agencies. So I think we should be first clarifying the incentives that we can use and how we can use it, specifically for tax lists and these purposes, because we compete with these schemes that give you the money very, very quickly. And also the other topic in the tax area is the monetization scheme, when you don't want to apply this tax list that is very common as well, because now many people doesn't feel comfortable with it. you still can ask for the monetization. You can the cashback of this incentive, but it's capped to 1 million euros, then 3 or 5 it is in R&D activities, and that's also something that for some companies, if we are talking about the speed and scale, cap it at 5 million euros, wait for 1.5 years until you get the money. That's not the speed, and that is not the scale for a sector like this. So I think this is part of the policies. Then we have Asia-Pacific regions, and there what we see is a strong support on champions. What they say is these are our, we can think companies in Korea, South Korea like Samsung or Sky Hynix. We have TSMC in Taiwan. We have well, many Renesas in Japan. What they do is they support very strongly these companies, and then those are the ones that take care of the SMEs. Of course, they have some small incentives for those SMEs, but we have much better in Spain incentives for SMEs, and to survive this death valley is much more. But their philosophy, because as I say, every country has their own one, is better than any grant, and SME needs a client, so they need to be industry-oriented from the academy. And the philosophy there is that the universities must be linked to the business to serve the industries, and the industries will give back their money by buying the solutions that they can provide. So those are different points of view in different geographies. We have the tax incentives there, the champion support, in America, the champion support in Asia Pacific. And here I think what we should work is in this speed that will help us to increase our scale and to increase our capabilities.
Thank you, Soraya. Roger, I have a question to you. You are here, these people give money, give tools, but you are the one really doing the job.
Okay.
So beyond the money, because it's going to be your first answer to my question is, what are the barriers, what are the challenges that an entrepreneur that wants to become a worldwide leader are you facing every day to really become a big player from here, from Spain?
Well, lots of challenges. but not to contradict you, but definitely the scale of capital that you put matters, right? It's not, you cannot build a big company with small capital. So yes, capital is one. Talent is number two, right? So for example, what we see in our particular little world is that we have a lot of very good people with 0 to 5 years of experience. And we have a gap because we didn't have this industry, and the people that did this retired. We don't have people with 10 to 20 years of experience taping out chips, designing silicon and all that. That's very hard, and that's what we have to bring here. So these middle years of experience, that's a challenge. And to me, the third challenge is the size of the market that the US is moving relative to the size of the market that I see in Europe, right? So, of course, we want to be a worldwide company. We want to sell everywhere, but when you see the numbers that every morning Oracle gets 50 billion from this one, this guy invests, and they're taking the same dollar and making it go round 5 times. So could we do the same? I mean, we need something similar to just play at scale. If you don't play at scale, your only end goal is to be acquired by one of these big guys. And that the result will be what Javier said. We paid all this money, we trained all these people, and the result is it goes to the bottom line of a US company. So I do think these are from a little bit more, the technology, to my surprise, ended up being the easy part. And for me, the fun part, what I like is the technology. Everything else is what's more challenging. Technology, we know what to do. We know what we're building. We know what we want to get to the market. And we think it's going to be great. But unfortunately, that's the easy part, right? It's all the things surrounding it that are challenges, in my view.
Thank you, Roger. So the next question I had is regarding talent, but due to the fact that we are late and that we have already discussed that topic, I give you 2 minutes to each of you to say if we have to put something for the next 24 months in Spain, what would you do to strengthen the semiconductor industry? Jeffrey.
Okay, yeah, so I think touching on that talent one, I think that is definitely a big area. We're seeing the same challenge that a lot of people are coming close to retirement, or they're, in the next 10 years, there's going to be a lot of people retiring with deep knowledge. So I think we need to do something about educating the next generation, capturing that knowledge. 2 things that we're doing. One is we have an associate program with universities where we bring them into the company for 2 years, and they have a senior person as a mentor, and that's working quite well. And then we capture the way they do development, and we're actually putting that into the tools as co-pilots in the tools. So you actually get the way they did their design, you can now see the way they did it, the people that were experienced. So we need to capture more of that knowledge into our technology so that the next generation have an easier way of developing the products. Also, I think that it's a different way of working now than it was when I was a graduate, where you're down at the transistor level, the gate level, the RTL level. Now people are looking at the system level. We need to educate them on a different way of developing the products through universities and also research. So I think doing that with the talent, also having closer collaboration in Spain, but outside of Spain in Europe. I think grabbing that, what's happening elsewhere, because there is some great innovations across Europe that are only in certain countries. How can we grab that here locally so that you can advance at a faster speed? So I would say that on the innovation and on the talent.
Thank you. Javier, what needs to be done urgently in the next 24 months? What do you think is the most urgent thing?
Okay, I think from the academic point of view, I think they need to open for large corporations just to close collaboration with them in order to improve the financial activities to create new talent in our country. For example, I don't know if Siemens wants to establish a new chair here in university in Spain. Why not? Yeah, I think it's a good opportunity. So it is something that we need. We have launched the exercise to create new 17 chairs in public universities. So now they need just to be open to Europe corporations to establish new opportunity for doing that. At the same time, industry needs to analyze the new design of chips will be made by a human or a machine. There are some big initiatives coming. I saw one in America, now in Europe appears something. We will see what happens. This morning I read an article coming from in Financial Times in relation with the difficulties of companies making automatic code for software. Now it's appearing the counterpart is just how to debug these errors that the machine is making doing code. It will happen with design in microelectronics. We will see what are the real opportunity, but they will be a mix. So we need to estimate what are the necessities we will have in the future for this talent. I think in the engineering part of design, the automatic machine design will be quite difficult. Interprocess systems, how to be connected. It is not so easy that the machine has all the components to doing the right solution for doing offering that. I think it's how to connect microelectronics with photons, because this will happen. This happens now in the industry. So transceivers will be concentrated. We will need to connect electrons and photons as quick as possible. This will happen automatically by machines. I doubt about it, this option. So talents to be open to large corporation from the academia. Industry need to analyze what are the real necessities for the medium long term, and at the same time, just if industry wants to retain talent, the best way is just to create a good environment of job, and of course, paying in the right way. If you want to retain people, pay in the right way. If not, you will have enough trouble.
Thank you. Roger, what do you want to see in the next 24 months?
Yeah, easy. We have a chemical industry supported by an undergrad program on chemistry. We have a medical fantastic system supported by an undergrad program on medicine. We have a legal industry based on an undergrad program. I can go for 24 more. We are not going to have a semiconductor industry without an undergraduate program in chip design. So what I want to see in the next 24 months is one of the universities in Spain getting approved in the appropriate councils a program for undergrad on chip design. And no, a master is not enough. No, PhD is not enough. We need an undergraduate program that produces 600 people a year to start, and then as the ecosystem grows, we need more. So very simple on talent. We need an undergrad program, at least in the first university, and the others will follow.
Interesting. Soraya, your time. What needs to happen?
I think our big move should be to move, and to move faster, and to move further. I think we need to start seeing more mergers, call it mergers, call it acquisitions, call it alliances, clusters, but we need to scale to be able to compete in this global semiconductor ecosystem. And for it, I agree that we need to pay well the talent. So I will suggest, please finish those caps in the grant applications to the salary of the scientists. They need to finish. And if we want to attract the talent, we need to be able to invest in them, to pay properly, and we need support for that. Companies or clients need, that's what they say always, they need support to bring and to gain those projects, many times from international companies that also need to fight for the attraction of those projects to Spain. And for those clients that are already in Spain and need to internationalize and they want to launch and start commercializing in other countries, they need to understand the local markets in their host countries. They need to understand how the ecosystems work there, and they need help for that too. So helps to the internationalization of our technologies, of our companies, and also of our academy, because I think the academy should not be remaining only focusing on Spain. We have seen last year, I remember the Polytechnical of Madrid team came from a visit in China, and that enlarged then a good vision of what was happening there. I think it's very good that everyone moves around the world, and I know nowadays we are very focused in building ourselves and looking at our bellies, but I think in this sector we need to remain revolutionary in that vision and keep our globalization approach, because that's what will give us the added value that we need.
Thank you. Okay, here we are. So thanks to the panelists. Please give them an applause and let's move on.
Thank you very much, Carlos. Thank you, Javier, Soraya, Roger, Geoffrey. Thank you very much for being with us today. And thank you all for remaining with us, listening to this interesting panel, and also viewing how Spain and in detail the Canary Islands could help this industry grow. And now we are honored to now receive a special institutional greeting, institutional salute from Leith Altimine, CEO of Semi Europe, one of the most influential voices in the global semiconductor industry. Mr. Altimine, please be welcome on stage.
8 billion people worldwide touched by semiconductors. With over 1 trillion chips manufactured in a year, the impact of technology they enable is accelerating. At SEMI, our member companies advance life-changing technologies, and we help them connect, collaborate, innovate, grow, and prosper. We offer unrivaled market intelligence to power timely business decisions. Together with our members, we push technology limits to reshape industry segments. Mobility, medtech, AI, manufacturing. Working in tandem, we overcome the toughest industry challenges: the talent gap, the environment, geopolitical uncertainties, and supply chain disruptions. Together, our impact is stronger. We go faster and further than ever before, making life better for the 8 billion and generations to come. SEMI.
Okay, a very good afternoon, good evening. Thank you. So this is my 4th time in Spain this year, and my dilemma is every time I go somewhere, I fall in love and I'll say, oh, I want to retire here. You know, I've been to Malaga, Seville, and here in Gran Canaria and Madrid. It's a beautiful country, and I think the great pleasure for me is like to see now Spain is really playing a very active role in the semiconductor industry, in the European as a starting point, but also in the global semiconductor industry. I think the Chip Nation, this event and many events happening across Spain, it is really key that Spain also positions itself. Where are the gaps? Where are the opportunities? And I think we saw we had from the keynote, but also from the panel, that we can't boil the ocean. We need to be really focused to play as a strong European ecosystem to make sure that Spain is part of Europe, but also Europe is part of the global, strategically positioned part of the global semiconductor ecosystem. Europe is in the perfect storm. Geopolitics is very high on the agenda, as we hear every day. You know, the US, China, and then most recently, I think was mentioned by Carlos on the next period, that things keep evolving, keep changing. And this is something that, you know, we can only manage as it happens, and how we manage it is really how to have a resilient supply chain. Something that it's not independent. You know, when we say sovereign, we don't mean to be independent. We can never be independent. But we need to have a supply chain, a resilient supply chain that we become less susceptible from the geopolitics and the things to come in the future. This slide basically gives you a trend onto, so when you say Europe in the world as we go, it's automotive. It's the first thing that comes to mind, you know, phenomenal automotive ecosystem. When you say Europe, you hear automotive, you hear innovation, and you hear state-of-the-art key players from European, that we are super, super proud that they really, you know, do the pipeline of the industry. This one here, the automotive, continues to be a very good health indicator of how resilient the supply chain is. And because of our positioning in the global automotive system, we can see where we're positioned. But also it's very important that one, you know, realizes that we have a goal that was mentioned in terms of sustainability and how we transition into that by 2030, 2035. But it's also important to measure where we are at any point in time. And as you can see here, we're in the 15.6%, which is versus 100% target by 2035. We're a long way to go. So we need to really work together to look at how we can bridge this gap, and most importantly, how we can bring all the competencies together to make sure that we can bridge the gap. And it is even more important because of the external pressures. You know, the external pressures, I'm referring like to China and Asia, they are moving faster than we are. But Europe, it's extremely well positioned, and it does lead at the world stage in sustainability and climate control. This is a fact, and we need to really make sure that we build upon that so that we can keep Europe very relevant. I mentioned the geopolitics. This is the price shift, and you know, from the trades and the tariff, this continues to evolve, which puts another pressure. And of course, at the end is the new competitors coming at a much faster rate. And I think we heard earlier, you know, the European Commission vision for 20% of the global market share. Today, we're about 8-9% of the global market share in terms of semiconductor. But to double that by 2030, we definitely need to move at a much faster pace. And I think we have learned a lot of lessons from the European Chips Act 1.0 to make sure that these are implemented in the 2.0, as was referenced by Jeffrey at the start. And one is the magnitude of investment, and two is the speed of implementation of investments. We cannot, you know, keep going around, and this is where Europe can be even better to work as a 27 member states coming together to make sure that the decision-making process is not prolonged. It's an effective and dynamic way to make sure that the decision coming up, and this is the exercise today with the European Chips Act 2.0. A statement by the President of the European Commission, 2035 target is not just environmental policy, it is industrial strategy, and it absolutely is. And I think we have many KPIs moved along, you know, in terms of the positioning Europe, where it is strong at, where it's strategic at the global stage, that we can make sure that we can continue to collaborate to get there. What are the challenges if we look at it from, I also mentioned during Jeffrey's presentation, but also during the panel. So challenges to overcome: European ecosystem, European semiconductor microelectronics ecosystem. So one is the AI chip design. So we know NVIDIA dominates. This is a fact. And I really liked, you know, the statement from Jeffrey on Siemens EDA commitment, you know, to support and the design at system level. This is a gap. Memory, so we talk advanced technology, everybody imagines it's only logic, but as a chiplet for a high performance, low power consumption in the microprocessor or in the microprocessor or all the element that is needed. Memory is also, we don't have. So this is two. Advanced packaging was mentioned. This we don't have, and as I said, if you look at the next period, even though the chips were processed here in the Netherlands, it actually put the automotive back on hold again because of the backend had to be processed in China. So we need to look at all these elements, the dynamics is where do we see opportunities for Europe in order to make sure that we remain competitive, but also if you look at the energy prices, the skilled labor, startups. Europe is one of the highest level of number of startups, you know, in terms of entrepreneurs at all technology levels. But they're always been in the background, and I think we also heard is you only hear about it is when they've been acquired by you know, an American company or whatever. But we need to put the spotlight on that because this is the future pipeline of innovation when there are so many components and elements that are playing in the semiconductor growth. And of course, then you look at the research projects, and then we can see. But what Europe has, it's a phenomenal ecosystem that has been established over the years. We have world leaders in terms of the research and development. It was mentioned also by Jeffrey, the IMEC, the LETI, the Fraunhofer, the VTT, among many. But these are really the global, you know, jewel in the crown in terms of innovation, and they do enable all the industry roadmaps, including the 2-nanometer Rapidus in Japan. So they do collaborate in order to do that. Suppliers, materials, and equipment, world leaders, ASM, ASML, it's the enabler of the advanced technology nodes worldwide. With the EUV, we have many players. We have the Synopsys, we have the Siemens, and so on. And in terms of materials, Merck, they continue to play. And then if we go to the design, then we have already, as also was mentioned by Jeffrey. So we have world-class positioning, world-class leadership. Infineon, ST, NXP, Bosch, they are world leaders in what they do today. Okay, it's not advanced technology nodes, but they absolutely are still world leaders in all the technologies that they provide. And then we go all the way up to the value chain. A quick snapshot, I know also Jeffrey showed some of them. So this was the smart fab, power fab that Infineon invested $5 billion. And I think also the Global Foundry just recent announcement, $1.1 billion. This is the Dresden fab. So this also just shows you that the ecosystem that Europe has, it's absolutely instrumental and fundamental to build upon, to continue to invest, because this is, the investment amount is not in 100 millions anymore. We're talking orders of billions, whether it's design, whether it is back end, whether it is even more so if it's a 300 millimeter wafer fab, then you're going in the tens of billions. So you need to have the ecosystem to make sure that the ROI is real, the investment is real, and Europe does have that. And as I said, you can continue to see domestic level, but also foreign direct investment in Europe. We continue that in Italy, ST, with the silicon carbide, which is tremendously valuable for the EV transitioning. NXP also secured $1 billion, and it's all in the order of billions. And then on semi, also $2 billion in the Czech Republic. So many, many investments, and continues. Most recently, we, as I said, one of the really sort of proud moment is that NVIDIA is going everywhere, and including most recently, I think, invested or partnership with Synopsys. So they're everywhere, but now with Nokia, we have powerhouses like in the telecommunication and the networks with the Nokia and the Ericsson. So this is now the time for them to really pop up again, you know, and take the world stage. ASML and with the Mistral AI investment, 1.3 billion. Like what we don't have and what they do have, because even if we build a fab in memory, you know, we have the money. Let's say the European Commission puts 20 billion. But the fact of the matter is, you need the know-how, you need the expertise, because these devices are super, super intelligent devices, and you need, you know, from material all the way up to system level design know-how in order to be able to meet that. This was also mentioned, I think, a couple of times. IMEC is the world leader, you know, it's true in terms of an RTO, in terms of what they do. They cover an immense amount of a spectrum of innovations, whether it's CMOS, non-CMOS, and so on. But also they, you know, one of the recent announcement is the line in Spain and Malaga and the PIX Europe. This is, again, Spain really pops up. You know, you hear that, and this is very recent announcement that really gives Spain, you know, it gives Spain, you know, that we are in business. We are in the semiconductor business, and we're open. And I think this is a very key message in terms of like positioning Spain. These are the 5, you know, pilot lines. And that is in additional to the 43 billion euro investment in many of the manufacturing. This is absolutely key to maintain Europe's positioning. As I said, if the examples I showed with Infineon, NXP, ST, Bosch, to maintain their world positioning, world leadership positioning. Also, in terms of innovations, to maintain our world leadership positioning with the pilot lines under the chip JU. Now, if we look at gaps and opportunities, these are tremendously valuable investments. What we need to look at is if we look at how do we commercialize that. We're doing 2 nanometer research and development. Why don't we commercialize that, you know, and do product? Even doesn't need to be high volume. We do advanced packaging, you know, 3D heterogeneous integration. It's an opportunity for us to commercialize that, so that basically what we generate here really is for the value of Europe ecosystem and Europe semiconductor value chain. Wide bandgap material, many other elements that are coming that are really, really key in order to really generate the value for where the gaps are, and that we can commercialize that. Quantum computing, we had also photonics, 3-5 materials. These are key and core know-how that Europe has today. We just need to look at how do we bring that together and make it feed into this, you know, into this strengthening of the European ecosystem. This trend, I think this is where Jeffrey and I will have some maybe chat after this. So the 1 trillion plus is a fact. You know, this is something. Semi put that on the roadmap a few years back. And today, 2025, the global revenue of semiconductor has exceeded 700 billion. So underpinned by AI and many of the AI flavors that Jeffrey showed, this is true, this is happening. So now it's really given that we will hit the 1 trillion by 2030, in fact, exceed. But where Jeffrey and I have a different numbers is that I have here, we will hit the 2 trillion by 2040, a few years between friends. But this is it, it's a fact. You know, like, it's no longer just one trend, one mega trend that is driving the growth. It's many mega trends, and I really like Jeffrey's presentation. It showed what are the mega trends and how they come in and the demand for the different technology nodes. This is key so that Europe can really position itself. And with the quantum, with the neuromorphic, many ultra-high performance computing, but also what we saw is that with the AI, with the generative AI, ChatGPT was the first indicator that AI demands massive amount of compute power. And this is an issue, this is a concern. And this is where the whole industry now is working together to look at how we can mitigate that. Whether it's system level, materials, chip level, many of the above need to come together in order to really do that. And that is, you know, also that can complement, you know, the positioning of Europe in the data centers, which is, you know, the order of data centers multiplying as we speak. So you can see the future of computing, data centers, AI, this is true 2040 positioning by 2 trillion plus by then. To summarize the challenges, AI is a phenomenal opportunity for the whole universe in terms of what it brings. You know, like almost, I'm sure every one of us, when they write something official, then you ask ChatGPT, you know, to get a second opinion to formalize it. It's true. It's a phenomenal tool, but also many are coming at the physical and, you know, the humanoids and moving forward. Then you look at, okay, we need to address the compute power demand, the AI energy that is needed. Geopolitical tensions, I said, this is on the rise on daily basis, which also is an opportunity for Europe. You know, many, you know, in terms of its positioning and the talent. I think we heard several times on what the challenge for war for talent. War for talent. So this slide shows the fact, I think also Jeffrey mentioned, that the European or microelectronic workforce is in the order of 250,000 to 300. This is the workforce, not including the whole surrounding ecosystem. If we follow the ambition of the European Commission by 20% by 2030, then basically you do a simple math, then you double the amount of workforce needed. So you will talk in that really get the 20% market share. We need to have an effective workforce, upskilling, reskilling, all of the above. By 2030, in the order of 600,000. Now, this is a phenomenal gap. So we need to look at how we can address that. And it's become, as we heard this morning, earlier, this has become a currency, like the talent, the skills, the university, the academia. It's become a currency every country worldwide that are using that to attract investment. You know, I can give you the people you need. I can provide you with the skills you need. The university can provide the curriculum, but we need to make it happen. The gap is huge. And then Europe is running 4 or 5 European funded commissions. This addresses the skill set, it addresses diversity, it addresses STEM, it addresses vocational, all of the above in parallel, not sequentially because the time is not, we don't have the time, but also from a semi point of view. And my colleague also here with me, Bernie, will be speaking that on Friday. The STEM Coalition, 20 under 30, so this is Semi-Europe initiative. We heard earlier that the gap between what we have now, and it's going to be a 10, 15 years gap because of the retirees. But what is imperative is that we recognize the high performers, high potential employees we have in our organizations. They're the future leaders. They're already in the industry, and they can be really, you know, looked up as the future generation, future leaders. Only academia, only university is not enough. So we're doing many initiatives led by my colleague to look at all the way to school level, like really early schools, to educate them on the semiconductor industry, to educate them on the image campaign of the industry is doing, it's all about. So it does not stop at any way or one thing at a time. It needs to go all the way to schools, including the parents, to be able to support, the workforce that is needed in the future. So these are many initiatives that SEMI-Europe is leading, is working with our member companies and academia in order to really be able to make, a gap that is so huge that we can mitigate it over the time. But it's still a big challenge. And I said, this is really a hard currency that every country is using to say, I can give you the people you need, I can give you the skills you need, invest here. And I think we had earlier, Spain is very well positioned, so it's a great opportunity for Spain. To summarize, if you look at, what does SEMI do globally, so these are the three challenges. So we looked at the talent shortage, so we have a SEMI Foundation. This looks at from a global perspective. It looks at all the workforce development programs at a global level, but also we do that also at regional level to globalize all the initiatives that are run. We look at the environmental disruptions. We kicked off SEMI Energy Collaborative. This is 20% of that is over 200 companies worldwide. So these are global platforms. But Europe is very well positioned in all of these ones, in terms of how they participate. And then the environmental VHS, the geopolitical volatility. What also the industry has realized is that, again, learning, but also we see from the investment, every investment, there is a high-ranking official, endorsing that. Member state, European Commission President, that they endorse that. And this is key to accelerate, the investments and to accelerate the implementation. What also the gap we identified as SEMI is that, okay, we brought the industry, we brought the academia, the university, and now the schools. But what is still missing is the policymakers, the people that really make the policies. They need to understand the industry needs and where the opportunities are in order to be able to make the right policies. And this is where we launched the SEMI International Policy Summit. This brings all the quadruple helix, social society, government, academia, and industry coming together to really collectively look at the challenges and see how we can, partner to overcome them. Challenges are huge, opportunities are enormous. I think for Europe, it absolutely is. As I said, I think we just need to work as a European, powerhouse and all of the elements to make sure that we maintain our positioning, but even enhance our positioning. The most talked about word is collaboration. So unprecedented challenges, this is the one word is always used, but every CEO, every executive, every a really key statement is that the challenges are so big, we can only remain and continue to be relevant as if we collaborate. And collaboration is not a nice to have within global, but within European focus, collaboration is absolutely mission critical so that Europe can maintain its leading position in the global semiconductor ecosystem. And I think there are tremendous opportunities for Spain to look at what is done. So we see where the manufacturing investment has taken place. We've seen where the innovation investments have taken place and where the opportunities are in the advanced packaging and the design and the many other also manufacturing of advanced technology nodes that will at some point will be needed for sure. So I think this is something that Spain can look at how to position itself to support this ecosystem. And with that, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Altman. It's been a pleasure for us having you here today. Certainly, there's a great opportunity for not only the Canary Islands, but also the continent to be placed on top of mind for this career to the leading of the semiconductors industry in the global market. Autoridades, academia, investigadores, todos los que han asistido hoy nos han acompañado. Gracias. Mañana nos vemos de nuevo. Ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow we will have another session again. We will be waiting for you here, and of course, this will be a challenge, and we need all of you to be here and give your ideas and your positions in your perspectives. Gracias, buenas tardes y hasta mañana. Thank you very much. See you tomorrow.